Hey there, and welcome to the Girl Means Business podcast, the show that's all about helping photographers just like you build a thriving business without sacrificing your sanity. I'm your host, Kendra Swalls, a former teacher turned full-time photographer and marketing coach, here to fill your earbuds each week with practical tips, real-life stories, and a whole lot of encouragement. So if you're ready to dive in, let's get to it because this girl means business. Hey friend, welcome back to the Girl Means Business podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about one of your greatest marketing tools in your business that you already have in place, but that you're probably not utilizing to its full potential. Because this one thing should be like a marketing guru running for you, doing the work for you while you're focusing on other things. And that thing is your website. It might seem like it is this it's important. We all know it's important, but it doesn't always feel like when you think of marketing, that's not the first place your mind goes to. But when you think about the client journey, almost every single client journey that I have worked on with my coaching clients or that I have discussed in group settings, it all involves at some point that client going to your website. Whether it is they find you because of a Google search and they go to a blog post, or they came across your website from a link on a social media post, or a friend referred them, or however they end up there. Typically, they're going to end up on your website at some point in their client journey. And so it needs to really be carrying its own weight and doing the work for you, because your website can be an incredibly, incredibly powerful marketing tool for your business. And there's a ton of areas we could go with this. Like we could go down the SEO rabbit hole. We could talk about design. We could do all those things. But I want to just kind of do a quick overview of some of the highlights, the key points of things that you want to be looking for, and some of the things that maybe are some mistakes that you're making or that photographers are making that I see often, so that we can kind of just do like a quick audit of your website and make little changes without having to feel like you're going down this super deep dive route and like getting in over your head. So let's start with the visual aspect. So there's two things that I see happening a lot of times on photographer websites that are just kind of not really serving you as well as they should. The first one is that you are having people come to your website and it's basically one giant portfolio. It is just picture after picture after picture with very little text, very minimal direction or information. And while we are artists and we are visually creating artworks and content, your website needs to have more than that. It needs to have a lot of clear direction. It needs to have written content that your viewer can read and consume. And your images need to be a very highly selected, curated. It needs to be a very curated selection of images that you're choosing to put on your website. Now, when you're first starting out and you don't have a ton of images to pull from, then use what you have. That's your only option. Or create model sessions where you can create the images that you want to showcase on your website. Because what happens when I see photographers who have been in business for a little bit of time and they have plenty of sessions to pull from, is they are just kind of putting up a little bit of everything, like a smattering of every session they've ever done. And the problem with that is you want to show what you want to book. So if you're putting up images from studio sessions, but you really want to be like a natural light outdoor photographer, it's going to send mixed messages to your audience. And they're going to be like, oh, well, I want to book her for this one like random studio session that you did. They're going to think that that's what you do. So you need to share what you want to actually book. And you need to make sure your images are images that really showcase a variety of what you offer. Now, again, if you're like, I did this one studio session, but that's not really what I offer, take it off your website. If it's a session that's like super, super old and it's edited in a really different style than what you're doing now, either re-edit that image if you love it or take it off and replace it with something else. If you're focusing on families with young children, that needs to be the 99.9% of what you show on your website. If you are a lifestyle newborn photographer and you do shoot in a studio, then you don't need to be putting pictures on your website of you in someone's home, because your clients are going to think that they can ask for that, unless you offer that. But if you don't offer that, don't show that. So be really particular in the images that you put on your website. You also want to make sure that your images are telling a story, like they're creating kind of a journey for your clients to go on your website. So when you come to a website, one of the things that's like one of my biggest pet peeves are like the rotating slideshow galleries that go on websites. I can tell you right now, nobody is sitting through those galleries. So if you have a rotating gallery slideshow, I would honestly highly suggest just take it off. Either put up one image or like a collage of images, or if it's on like a home page, just do one image, like a highlight, a hero image, something that is like, this is the epitome of what I offer. And that is your like header image. And then if you're showing off like a gallery of some kind, or, what kind of services you offer and you have different pictures, then make sure it's like in a gallery format or in like block format. So it's not a scrolling. Again, nobody's going to sit there and scroll through them. It's real annoying. As a viewer, I don't like to do that. Like I don't like to have to click through something. I just kind of want to be able to keep scrolling. So that's one thing that you would take off. The second thing that's kind of an issue I see visually on client or photographer websites is not having clear like branding. So a lot of times what photographers will do, and I'm not knocking this, I've done it. I've had so many iterations of my website over the years that I've done it all. But a lot of times you go and you sign up for a Squarespace or a Showit or Pixieset or whatever you're using for your website platform. And you will get like one of the free templates that they have available, which is fine. But then there's no customization that you're doing. You're just kind of filling in the spots where they already have images in place, and you're replacing them with your own images. You're putting your logo up. You're kind of just like filling in the blanks like a Mad Lib style. The problem is there's no personality to that. There's no visual personality. Now you might be adding personality through the text and your voice and that kind of thing, but visually there's no personality. And this was one of my I got on a soapbox on an older episode about this, but for a long time, and it's still kind of a trend, the light and the bright and the airy and the really soft colors, and like it was very much a photography trend. And almost every client that I worked with not every client. I did put out like these website audits at one point. And so I had several people signing up for these kind of one-off website audits that I was doing. And I cannot tell you how many websites I saw that looked exactly the same. Like I could not tell you what they were. Like I knew that they were wedding photography or they were newborn photography, but I couldn't tell you like, oh, this website belongs to this photographer or this website belongs to this photographer. It all just started to look like the exact same thing. And so as a viewer of a website, I don't want to see the exact same thing. Like I don't want to Google photographers in my area and come across 5 photographers and not really be able to tell a difference between any of them because they all look exactly the same. So you want to visually infuse personality into your website. So if you're using a template, by all means, please use a template, because nobody has got the time to create a website from scratch unless that is what you absolutely love doing. And if so, then this podcast episode is probably not even for you because you already know all these things. But if you're someone who's like, I just need a website, I want it to look nice, the template's easy, go for it. But make sure you're adding in your own elements, visually and written, that make it feel like you. Because that is what's going to get someone's attention. So again, if someone's going on Google and they're typing in photographer near me and 5 websites pull up and yours is one of the 5, if the other 4 look the same, they're all, very generic, but yours comes up and it is like full of just smiles and joy and love, or, maybe you're a very bold and bright, colorful photographer. So everything on your website is kind of bold and colorful and in your face. And or maybe you love that boho look, but you've added elements to it that just make it kind of really unique and creative and unique to you. you're going to get that client over the other 4 if it comes down to just clearly based on which website stood out the most. Which one do they remember the most? Because when you are in a sea of all these other photographers, you got to stand out. And the best way to do that is to be yourself and put your personality into your website. So when it comes to the visual aspects of your website, you need to make sure that the images are showing what you want to sell, that they are easy for the viewer to actually scroll through, not click through, that they are up to date, that they are, your current style, and then visually make sure that it is very, unique to you and your personality and your brand so that it stands out. It doesn't feel like just another cookie cutter website that someone copied and pasted from someone else's. Okay, so now let's talk about the actual content and pieces of your website that are going to make it a selling machine. So again, I'm going to kind of go over a couple of things that I see that are missing or that are not working on some websites. One of those is going to be the navigation. So I'm all for make your website visually appealing, but it also has to function really well. And it has to be easy to navigate. People want easy. If it is not easy, they bounce so fast. So if you're people are coming to my website, I'm getting traffic, but they're not sticking around for long, I want you to look at how easy is it for them to go from homepage to the next thing you want them to look at, to the next thing you want them to look at, to fill out a contact form. What is that journey they're going on? So a lot of times what people will do is they will hide the navigation bar in one of those little, 3-line sandwich menu things. On an app, that's totally fine because you don't need the full menu right away. And people know on an app how to, not an app, on a mobile device. But on a full screen website, I personally like a full navigation bar. I want the very first thing I see at the top of that page to be your logo and your navigation. There is one photographer that I did an audit for a while back, and she had a beautiful website. It was absolutely stunning, very, very much like her style, her personality, her brand, all the things. But one of the things that drove me nuts about it was that when I came to her website, I had to scroll up before I ever saw the navigation bar. So there's a thing with websites called above the fold. What that means is if I pull a website up on my screen, on my desktop, primarily on a desktop, what can I see before I ever scroll up? That is what's above the fold. You want everything that is important. If the only thing they see is what is on that first screen, has got to be the most important thing. And so the fact that I had to scroll up to see her navigation bar was a huge pet peeve for me. I was like, you got to move that to the top, because immediately I was confused. I was like, well, where do I go from here? And I knew to scroll up. I knew what I was doing. But even then, I'm not one of her clients. But if I was, and I came to that page, and I might be like, I don't know, I know that sounds weird. And people are like, well, duh, you scroll up. I'm telling you guys, you have to make it like a kindergartner is going to do it. Okay. Because there are going to be people who are like, I don't know where to go from here. And they're not going to scroll up, and they're not going to find your navigation, and they're going to go away. Or they're not going to know that the 3 little lines in the top corner are what they need to click on. Or it takes too much brain power for them to figure it out. And they're like, I'm done. I don't want to have to figure this out. If I have to jump through hoops to figure it out, I'm out. So in that very first above the fold, you need to have your navigation bar. You need to have your logo or your company name, and you need to have some sort of heading or tagline that lets people know who you serve and how you serve them. So if I'm going to pull up a website and it's going to say, the logo in the top left corner, Jane Smith Photography, it's going to have the menu bar, home, about, portfolio, contact, blog, whatever. And then I'm going to have a nice pretty image of the family sessions that I photograph, golden sunlight in a field, whatever. And it's going to say, across the middle or whatever, somewhere above the fold, capturing, this is a terrible headline, but capturing moments you'll want to treasure forever. Okay. Or helping families freeze time and have memories for a lifetime. Those are terrible headlines, but you get the point. Like, call out who you're serving and then tell them how you help them. That's what you want your tagline to do. Okay, so then once you have that, I'm going to go back to navigation for a second. Make sure your navigation kind of goes in the order you want them to go through. So for me, I like it to have a home so people can get back to the home page if they need to. I like them to go to the About section next so they learn about who I am. Then I want them to go to my portfolio so they can see what I do. Then I want them to go to either blog or contact. Those two are kind of, you can switch them out however you want them to do it. Sometimes I like to have them do blog next so that if they want to go read about past sessions or information, things like that, it's more educational on my blog, they can go do that. And then the contact is up there too. I also want to make sure that I say this on the navigation piece. Do not use words that don't make sense to people. I have seen people want to use these really flowery, for portfolio, they'll want to say things, that nobody knows what it actually means. It's just this kind of random, I can't think of a word right now, but for blogs, sometimes they'll put notes or something. And I'm like, no, just keep it keep it simple. People need simple. People need to know what you're wanting them to do. You tell them exactly what you want them to do and they'll do it. So don't make it all flowery and pretty unless it is very, very clear what it is they're supposed to do. The next thing is you want to make sure once you're above the fold is good, you've got the navigation, you've got your tagline, you've got your image, you've got your logo. Nobody has to scroll up to get any of that information. You also want to make sure that on every single page, from homepage to contact, everything, maybe not contact, but homepage through everything else, after about every 2 scrolls, you have a button that says book now, contact me, click here to start planning your session, something, okay? Because your ultimate goal is to get them to contact you to book a session. And so don't make them scroll back to the top. Don't make them jump through hoops. Give them what you want them to do every couple of scrolls. So if on the home page you have your above the fold, your big header, they scroll up, they have a little, a picture of you with a little blurb about who you are. They scroll up again and they see the different types of sessions that you offer. Put a button, contact me, book now. If they keep scrolling and it's a couple other pieces of information, scroll up again, more information, another button, book now, contact me. Let's start planning your session, however you want to say it. Make it and do that on every single page. On your About Me page, when you get past the part where you're talking about yourself, put a contact button. On your portfolio page, halfway through your portfolio or a third of the way through, put a contact me button. Another little further down, put another contact button.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Imagine this. It's a Wednesday morning. You've just finished listening to a podcast episode, maybe even this one, and your head is swirling with so many new ideas for your business. But at the same time, you're feeling a little overwhelmed and confused on what actually you need to be focusing on, or if these new ideas you have are even worthwhile. Now imagine that in the midst of your overwhelming confusion, you can pick up your phone and directly message your personal marketing coach to get clarity, feedback, and inspiration to help you know exactly what's going to keep you on target to grow your unique photography business. Well, the good news is that's exactly what you're going to be able to do very soon inside of my newest offer, The Greenhouse. The Greenhouse is a personalized coaching membership that allows you direct access to me as your marketing coach for your business, along with a community of other photographers there to cheer you on, support you, and be with you every step of the way. Now, if you are just looking for quick fixes, viral hacks, or another online course that you'll probably never finish, then this is not the place for you. But if you are tired of feeling like you're doing everything on your own, you're craving real support, community, and clear direction in your business, then you belong inside the greenhouse. However, the founding member launch is going to be a very short window of time and very exclusive. So if this is something that sounds like what you need in your business, I would love for you to join the waitlist so that you get early access along with some exclusive bonuses. So head down to the show notes, click the link, and get signed up. I cannot wait to see you inside the greenhouse when the doors open soon. You want people to, when they are going through your content and they're gathering this information about who you are and what you do, and they're constantly thinking like, this is a good fit for me, that is where you want them to have that easy, quick access to click contact me. I forgot one thing now that I'm saying this, going back to the header or to the navigation. You do want to have an info button where you have like your session and your pricing and all that kind of stuff. Make sure that's in your navigation bar as well. Okay, off that sidebar. So we want to make it as simple as possible. You want to have clear action steps, exactly what you want them to do. Adding in, like any kind of text that you can add in is going to help your SEO, which I'm going to talk very, very briefly about in a second. But the other thing I see that is one of the biggest mistakes photographers make on their website, you don't put where you're located. I cannot tell you how many times I have gone to a photographer's website. Honestly, one time it was literally looking for a photographer for myself in an area I'm not familiar with. We were traveling and I wanted to get pictures. And the number of websites, even when I typed in photographer in such and such area, when I got the list of websites and I was going through them, very few of them actually told me where they were located. And so there have been times that I've clicked on someone, I've gone through their whole website. I have no clue where they are or what area they serve. So not only does this help your SEO because you're putting on there serving the Dallas-Fort Worth area, serving Nashville, Tennessee, and surrounding areas, whatever. Just somewhere in your footer, somewhere in your top of your homepage, somewhere in there you need to put where you are located or the area that you serve. Now, if you are a destination photographer, if you're like, I travel everywhere, I go all the places, that's fine. Put where you're based out of, and then put traveling to these places, or traveling, open to travel worldwide, or however you want to word that. But having a home base, having some sort of physical location is going to help people find you. So that way, if you're located in Nashville, Tennessee, and someone types in photographer in Nashville, Tennessee, you're more likely to get found in a search because your website actually has your location on there. Now, let's talk about SEO for a second, because this is where we kind of get into the weeds a little bit, and I'm not going to go super deep in SEO because that's a whole other website or a whole other podcast we can talk about. But I just mentioned having your location on there is great for SEO because when someone types it into a Google search, it pulls it from your page. One of the things you do not want to do is you do not want to keyword stuff your website. This goes for your website. It goes for your blogs. It goes for your page titles. It's anywhere that you are putting written content. Everything needs to flow as if it were a natural conversation. So you can put in your footer or somewhere on your page, serving the Dallas-Fort Worth and surrounding areas. That's totally fine. But if you go to the About Me page and your About Me section says, hi, I'm a photographer who serves the Dallas-Fort Worth area, or for Dallas-Fort Worth and the surrounding areas. I love taking photos in the Dallas-Fort Worth and surrounding areas. That is going to feel very fake, and Google knows that. Not only will it turn off your visitors, because they're going to be like, what the heck? It sounds like a robot wrote it. But it's going to flag onto Google that this is keyword stuffing. And I've heard these, there's lots of information out there. People will say title your pages with your keywords. Every page title should say, janesmithphotography.com/ Nashville, Tennessee newborn photographer. Okay, that's okay. But if every single one of your pages is janesmith.com/ Nashville, Tennessee, blah, blah photographer, or Nashville, Tennessee about me, Nashville, Tennessee, this, it's keyword stuffing. And Google does not look on that very nicely. In fact, I am currently taking an SEO course from Google themselves. And that's one of the things that they have reiterated over and over and over again is you have to be careful with keyword stuffing. It needs to sound like an actual human wrote it and for another human to read. So if you're adding in these keywords every single time you possibly can, it's going to be a little bit off-putting and it might hurt your searchability. So what are some things you can do to help boost your searchability? Use your keywords naturally. So if you're on an information page and you're talking about lifestyle newborn sessions, you can say, our lifestyle newborn portrait sessions include blah, blah, blah. This is what you can expect when you come in or when you book a lifestyle newborn portrait session. Again, you're using those keywords, lifestyle newborn session, but you're using them in a way that makes sense to the reader and they are more natural on your page. Okay, so you want to make sure that you are including those keywords, but you're doing it in a very organic way. Blogging. If you are not blogging on your website, please, please, please start. And I don't mean just blog your sessions. That's a great place to start. Blog your sessions, include photos and include text. At least 300 to 500 characters minimum of text. Because again, when you search on Google, these little crawlers go out and they're grabbing onto words. And so you need the more words you have on your website, the better. And a couple of things that Google looks for when they are doing a search is they're looking for relevance. So how closely of a match is the words on your website to the words that were used in the search. So if someone searches for lifestyle newborn session, how close does that actually match on your website? And they're looking for relevance, and they're looking for, is it up to date? So this is where a lot of times photographers will build out a website. It looks great. It's beautiful. It matches their brand, has all the right things, but they haven't touched it in 6 or 9 months, a year and a half, 2 years. And it becomes stagnant on the internet. And so if you're I have this great website, it checks off all the boxes you're telling me, Kendra, it's doing all the things it should be doing, but I'm not getting traffic and I'm not getting bookings from it. It's probably because Google doesn't know that you're even still in business because you haven't updated your website in over a year or over 6 months. When you add in blogging and you're doing it once a week, every 2 weeks, once a month, however often you're doing it, you're updating your website. You're adding new, fresh content to your website that keeps it relevant, that keeps it up to date, that lets Google know this is a website that is still active. And so we want to put it kind of towards the top of what we can show because we know it's active and we know that it has the relevancy to match the keywords that were searched for. So by adding in blogging, that's a great way. And it's a good way to add in some keywords that your audience is searching for. 99.9% of the time when someone does a search for a photographer in my area, if my website comes up in that search, it's not my homepage that's coming up. It's a blog post that's coming up, or it is my services page that's coming up. Most of the time, it's a blog post because those are the ones that have the most up-to-date content and they have the most keywords for those little crawlers to go and grab onto. So start blogging. Again, I will have more episodes coming up about what that actually looks like and how you can use blogging for your website. Okay, so those are kind of the key SEO things. The last thing I will say on SEO, and then I'll just kind of do a quick little wrap up here, is anytime you add an image to your website, you want to add a title and you want to add alt text. So the way you do this, I use Show It for my website. So when I pull a photo into Show It, it's going to show me on a little panel on the right-hand side. When I click on the image, it's going to show me what the title of that image is, and it's going to give me these little empty boxes. So description, alt text, those kinds of things. And I want to go in and add keywords to those. So if the photo is a headshot of a real estate agent, then I can put on that title DFW or Fort Worth real estate headshot, realtor headshot. And I can do the same thing in the alt text. that's going to add, the whole purpose of that really is for people who are visually impaired to know, like it reads out to them what the image is. So you do want it to be relevant to the photo. So you do not want every single photo, again, keyword stuffing. You don't want to have every single photo say, Dallas Fort Worth brand photographer, Dallas Fort Worth branding photographer, like that's not going to work. But if I can personalize it to each image, that is going to greatly help. So if it's let's say it's a headshot I took and it was at a particular coffee shop, okay? I can say, Common Grounds coffee shop photo shoot, or so I can actually name because someone might be searching for that coffee shop and my content will come up in a search. So using keywords that your audience might be searching for in your images is also going to help. But again, it has to be done strategically and not just stuffing your keywords in there on every single photo. Okay, last but not least, when we talk about a website, and I've said this several times, it has to be user-friendly. It has to be something that your viewer can easily navigate and find what they need. Now, as someone who is creating my own website, I've done this multiple times. I have hired people sometimes to do it for me. Most of my websites I have done myself. It's really hard to look at it objectively because you're so in it. You can't see the forest for the trees because you're in the middle of the forest. So what you want to do is what I call the mom test. You want to send your website to somebody that you trust, that you know, who is not maybe super tech savvy, or maybe somebody who's not another photographer, not somebody who knows your business in and out, not somebody, not your significant other. Like you want it to be somebody that is going to be objectively honest with you, your best friend, your mom, a coworker, whatever. And you want them to go through your website and ideally either record their screen while they're doing it or do it where you can watch them doing it and see what they click on. Tell them I don't want to sway you anyway. I literally want you to go to this website and just click through it like you're deciding whether or not you should hire me. Look at where they're clicking, okay? Look at where do they go first? Do they get stuck anywhere? Do they get frustrated anywhere? Are there times where they kind of get in a spot where they're I don't really know where to go next? Or they click on something and it takes them to the wrong place. You want to kind of watch, kind of secretly watch someone else go through your website. And that is going to tell you so much about where you have gaps in your website. And again, it is not anything personal. Don't take it personally. They are just giving you an incredible insight into what your user experience is going to be. And if you can tweak and make changes to create that website user experience and make it incredibly easy and efficient and work for you to get you clients in the door, it is going to be your best marketing asset. Okay, so I hope that's a lot of information. This is a longer episode than I normally have been doing lately, but it's jam-packed with so much information. I couldn't just stop. I could talk about this for hours, but I will not bore you. I will break it up into future episodes. Don't worry, they're coming. Thank you so much for being here. If you have questions about anything I've talked about in these episodes, please feel free to reach out to me. You can email me at kendra@girlmeansbusiness.com. You can go to Instagram and DM me over at Girl Means Business. Depending on what platform you're listening to this on, Spotify or Apple Podcasts, I think one of them has a contact me button or a send me a message button. You can do that. I love hearing from you. If you have thoughts, ideas, questions, topics you want me to cover, please let me know. There's also an Ask Me Anything button down at the bottom. You can click on that and fill out a form if you have a question that you would like me to answer here on the podcast. I would be happy to do that as well. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in this week. Thank you for sticking through this longer episode. I hope it was worth your time and energy, and I cannot wait to see you back here next week, same time, same place.